Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Islamic Economics series.
Today, we're going to dissect a really critical issue facing the Muslim world, the deep-seated crisis in its educational systems. And we're basing our discussion on the foundational text, Islamization of Knowledge. We're going to diagnose the problem, trace its roots to a broken education system, and then explore the book's comprehensive plan for unification, vision, and sustainability.
Okay, let's just dive right in. The source material doesn't pull any punches. It opens with a really stark and challenging assessment of the state of the Muslim world. Now, it's a diagnosis that can be difficult to hear, but it's absolutely essential to understand if we're going to find a way forward. And we're not just talking about a vague feeling of decline here. No, the text argues that this is a measurable, tangible reality. It describes a situation where a community with just vast human and material potential somehow finds itself weakened and really misrepresented on the world stage. So, let's break down the symptoms because this is where it gets really clear. Politically, you've got fragmentation, over 50 states, often with friction built right into their borders. Economically, there's this deep-seated dependency, a failure to be self-sufficient even with basic things like food. And culturally, and this is maybe the most damaging part, there's a crisis of identity, a loss of confidence that leaves people and whole society stuck between two worlds, not really belonging to either one.
You add all that up, the political, the economic, and the cultural decline, and you've got a full-blown crisis. So what's the core reason for this? The book argues it's not a material crisis, it's an intellectual one, and its epicenter is located squarely in the education system.
The source pinpoints this idea of educational dualism as the breeding ground for the Ummah's entire problem. I mean, just imagine two parallel conveyor belts, right? Both are producing two completely different types of people from the very same community. One system is looking to the past, the other is mimicking the West, and they never intersect.
And this really illustrates that conflict perfectly. On one side, you have the traditional system. It's often underfunded, using outdated materials, and it can leave its graduates unprepared for the modern world. Then on the other side, you have the secular system. It's usually state-sponsored, and it copies Western models, but without the vision behind them, producing graduates who are disconnected from their own Islamic heritage. This creates a huge chasm right down the middle of society.
The result of all this is a profound confusion, both for individuals and for society. And this is where it really hits home. The source uses this really stark quote to capture the tragic outcome. A generation caught between two worlds, creating what it calls a cultural freak. Now, this isn't just an individual tragedy. It has massive societal consequences. It leads to a crisis in leadership, a lack of a cohesive vision, and a deep-seated insecurity that basically paralyzes progress at its root.
So the crucial point is that this fractured system is the core of the crisis. If you want to fix the Ummah, you have to first fix its education. This brings us to the proposed solution, a task the book describes as the greatest one confronting the Muslim world today.
And the source is crystal clear. Partial measures have already failed. Just tinkering with the old system or adding an Islamic studies department to a secular university, that's not enough. The prescription is radical. Dismantle the two parallel systems and build one new, unified structure from the ground up.
So let's see how this builds into a clear, actionable plan. First, you physically and administratively unify the schools. Second, and this is really the soul of the project, you give this new system a mission, an Islamic vision that informs every single subject. And third, you ensure its freedom and its sustainability by reviving the powerful tradition of waqf. So this three-pronged strategy really forms the blueprint. But as the source stresses, simply merging buildings and budgets is not enough. The new system has to have a soul, a mission. So let's dive a little deeper into that second pillar, instilling a truly Islamic vision.
The purpose of this Islamic vision is deeply practical. It's not just about sentiment. It's about providing an intellectual toolkit. It's designed to give students the confidence and the knowledge to understand their own heritage, to critically engage with other worldviews, and to see the relevance of Islam not just in theology, but in every field of human endeavor.
So how do you actually build this shared intellectual toolkit for an entire generation? The source proposes a bold, universal requirement. As this slide shows, every single university student, it doesn't matter if they're studying medicine, engineering, or literature, would take a mandatory 4-year course on Islamic civilization. The whole goal is to make sure that every graduate, every future doctor, scientist, and artist shares that same common intellectual and cultural foundation.
And the vision goes even deeper. The ultimate goal is the Islamization of knowledge itself, recasting all modern disciplines within an Islamic framework.
Now, a system with such a bold, transformative vision, it simply cannot be subject to shifting political winds or government budgets. It needs total freedom, it needs autonomy to pursue its mission. And that brings us to the crucial third pillar, funding.
This is where the institution of waqf becomes absolutely essential. It's a perpetual endowment where assets are dedicated to funding a specific cause, in this case, the entire educational system. This creates a buffer, right? It allows the system to focus on its mission without being subject to the whims of government budgets or political agendas.
You know, reviving the waqf is not some new idea. It's about restoring a historically successful model. And this point right here brilliantly illustrates the power of that model. The source reminds us that the whole concept of an autonomous, endowment-funded university, which became the blueprint for the first Western universities, actually has its roots in the Islamic world's waqf-based madrasas.
This powerful historical precedent shows that an endowment-funded system isn't a fantasy. It's a proven model for fostering intellectual freedom and excellence. It ensures the educational system serves the long-term vision of the Ummah, not short-term political interests. And so, the source leaves us with this powerful central question. The argument presented in Islamization of knowledge is that the answer is a resounding yes. That by healing this fundamental division within its schools, the Ummah can begin to heal the crippling division within itself, paving the way for a genuine intellectual and cultural revival. I mean, it's a monumental proposal, a complete reimagining of education to solve a civilizational crisis. So what are your thoughts on this approach? Is it a viable blueprint for the future? Let us know in the comments below. See you in the next one. Subscribe, like, and comment.